So here we are tackling the third and final Christmas dress for one of my daughters. Now this dress poses several challenges since I'm using silk satin. So I'm going to show you how I handle that challenge as well as the general process of putting this dress together in just 1 week. That's right folks, another 1 week Christmas dress, and there is still plenty of time to get your sewing on. So let this be the motivation. Alrighty, we are back in my sewing room getting those materials for Audrey's dress. It's this cream silk satin. It's so luscious. Luscious, is that the word I'm looking for? Luxurious as well. Luscious and luxurious. It's like a thick version of charmeuse. Kind of folds and glides over itself. One of my favorite fabrics. So her pattern is this Children's Corner Maryland. I'm cutting down those bodice front and back pieces as well as the bodice overlay and those sleeves. The skirt will be rectangles, so I don't need the pattern pieces for those. Does anyone else keep a notebook handy by their machine? Between random measurements, fun ideas, inspirations, I've been keeping a notebook in my sewing space for years, and they are a hot mess of information. If someone got their hands on my books and tried to make some sense out of them, gosh, it's a mess, but they're really useful to me. Anywho, side note. I get those pieces and fold up the remaining pieces, put them back in their folder. Remember, clean space, clean mind. Clean as you go, and then you won't be buried alive by fabric and whatnot. Pattern pieces. All the things. So Audrey is quite tall these days, so cutting out dresses for her in this small sewing space is pushing the boundaries. That's okay, just a handful of pieces, and then we can get on to sewing this dress together.
First flake of snow is set to fall today. It comes to say that Christmas is on its merry way, and for every single child
So I get the skirt out of the way, sewing up those side seams, and recruiting some help from my coffee cup to hold things in place. This silk satin fabric likes to slip all around, so it's good to hold her in place. Having it fall off your sewing surface causes undesired weight and force. Well, weight is a force, whatever. I use 2 selvage edge to selvage edge pieces, say that 10 times fast, to make this skirt. Now looking back, I should have put side seam pockets here. I am really kicking myself, but oh well, such as life. The world will keep turning. And since the selvage edge is pretty, at least I think so, I'm leaving it on. And just using a plain old seams for those side seams. Like I said, I really should have done inseam pockets. I could have cut those out on the selvage edge as well, but blah blah blah. I just forgot about them. Anywho. So then I iron those seams open, refilling the iron with water. I might be a rebel without a cause, but I love ironing silk on high heat and often with steam, but not always. I have been doing the high heat thing for years though. Anyone else? Any other rebels out there? So let's get that bodice together. And here's a construction tip when working with slippery fabrics like this silk satin. I'm going to underline it with flannel. Yes, you've heard right, folks. Flannel. This is some super fine flannel from Farmhouse Fabrics. I have used it for many baby gowns. I love, love, love this stuff. And the idea of underlining is going to go behind the silk satin fabric, and it's going to give some stability, kind of smooth it out if you will. The flannel gives that silk satin a surface to lay on and chill out. I hope that makes sense, and I'll show you the difference in a bit. But I'm back to cutting out duplicates of the bodice front and back with one change. I'm adding about an inch or so past the original back fold, and this will allow the fabric to bend around the lining of the dress, and I will show you more on that in a bit as well. For now, I'm basting the pieces together. So the bodice front will be basted to the flannel version of the bodice front, sewing from one edge all the way around, like that arm's eye, the shoulder seam, neckline, until all of the pieces are together. I didn't see the need to baste at the bottom, like that waisting area, but you get the drift. We're combining them as one, folks. I repeat the same thing for the bodice back pieces. Now make sure to have a left and a right piece here, okay? We don't want to have two lefts or two rights. You need one of both. So once again, sewing that side seam around the arm's eye, the shoulder seam, neckline, and then down that back. And that vertical back, this area right here, is where I added about 1 inch or so of overhang, so it will fold around to the inside of the dress. So it'll make a smooth transition to the inside. And check this out, my right hand has the underlined or interlined, whoever it is, it has the flannel, while my left hand does not. And you can see what a nice finish that flannel gives the satin. I mean, I love silk satin, and for the skirt, all that movement is great. You know, the slicking and the slacking and the folding and all the gathers and everything like that. But for the structure of the bodice, I think that putting the flannel behind it is a great option to just give some structure, some smoothness to it. So flannel is wonderful for a Christmas dress with it being wintertime and all, but a cotton batiste or something like that would be a wonderful choice for warmer weather. It is bodice ring method time, y'all. This is my favorite way to put a bodice together, and although I've done it hundreds of times, I messed her up here, which is funny because you can see me right now. I am flipping the back bodice around, trying to visualize how it should be placed together, and just trying to avoid the mistake that I am about to make. I know. Oh, but before I can make that mistake, I forgot all about the bodice overlay. So cue the seam ripper and let's get that bodice overlay together. I'm finishing that bottom curve with this wine-colored silk de finione bias band. It already comes cut on the bias, which is really, really wonderful. Farmhouse Fabrics kindly matched the thread to this band, which is a service that they include when you order from them. I stitched the band at the bottom edge of that curve first, and then flip that whole seam to the fabric side so I can understitch. Understitching will prevent the fabric from rolling around that corner and being seen under the wine silk band. So clip the curve, fold the top edge under about 1/4 inch and iron things until they lay nicely into place. And then just rinse and repeat for those sleeves.
What a feeling, now it's time for Christmas. And Christmas is my favorite time of year. It's beginning to look like all my wishes are coming true. That's why I cheer. I've been busy decking the halls. I've been kind to big and small. And now it's time to have a merry holiday. What a feeling when it's time for Christmas. Let's sing a carol and we'll bring it here. I guess that spring and summer, they're all fine. But I've been waiting for the season that's mine. So let it come, yeah, let it come. Snowflakes fall, I can hear the sleigh bells call. They're saying it's time to have a merry holiday. What a feeling, now it's time for Christmas. and Christmas.
Now that I got all those curves and the red thread out of the way, I can go back to messing up this bodice ring method. So I based the bodice overlay to the bodice front of the dress, starting at the side seams, around the arm side, the shoulder, the neckline, all that jazz, until I get to the other side seam. Then I join the bodice together using the bodice ring method. Yes, all 4 seams. And I fold the non-flannel back part together with the flannel bodice front, and sure enough, that isn't how she bends together. So, cue the seam ripper. Again, in order to get all the interlining pieces sewn correctly, you need to put them right sides together. So you will have the flannel part touching the flannel part, okay? And all of that will be sewn with right sides together at the shoulder seam. So just the straight old silk satin will be sewn to this, this straight old silk satin, and then the flannels to the flannels. Am I making sense what I did and what you should be doing? I hope so. So finally the bodice is together. I know, thank you. And next up, to put this wine piping around the neckline or not, life decisions. I went back and forth, and eventually settled on leaving it out. I figure she's growing up, and that embellishment, at least to me, makes it more like on the little girl side of life, but it is sewing, so you do you. I think both ways are beautiful. I took more time than I cared to admit on this decision. So regardless, join the neckline together by putting the lining right sides together with the dress and stitching from the fold on one back all the way around to the fold on the other bodice back. Then I clip the curves and understitch the seam of the neckline. Using this corner pusher outer tool, I pushed out those corners and gave everything a really good pressing. So in preparation for attaching those sleeves, I'm joining the side seams. I keep each seam separate. That means that I'm going to have the right side of the dress with 2 of those seams, and then the lining side of the dress 2 seams for that as well. So 4 side seams total, okay? And that's a wrap for one day. At this point, I'm feeling a little good about the progress made, but I can't help but think about how much more progress I could have gotten done without all of that dang seam ripping. Oh well. Alrighty, a new day. Kiddos are off to school. Seam rippers put away, and let's hope that everyone stays in their places. So the sleeves for this dress. Okay, I actually cut out 4 sleeves, which I thought was strange, but that's what the pattern called for. Turns out that is what the pattern called for, but for the view that I wasn't making, which explains why it seemed strange to me. Alas, I am going ahead and using all 4 sleeves. They are already cut out, and it will give a truly fully lined bodice, which sounds lovely. So I finished the curved edge of the sleeve, that lining sleeve, by hemming it with some organdy. Seriously love organdy as a notion. Well, I mean, I love it for a fabric too, but I think that it takes the cake at saving you when you get into those weird situations. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Farmhouse Fabric sells fat corners and a variety of colors, and I am all about it. After hemming those lining sleeves, then I join each sleeve together at the side seam using a plain old seam. And that's all she wrote for today, folks. But hey, a little progress is better than no progress. On to day 3, and in order to keep attaching those sleeves separate, I pull apart the bodice. So I've got a garment side to this bodice and a lining side to the bodice. You see where this is going? So from there, I run gathering stitches, 2 rows of them, into each sleeve. 1 row of gathering stitches on either side of where the actual seam for the sleeves are going to go later on. So coming back to this dress, I gathered up the top of those sleeves and fit them to the appropriate arm size. I use one clip mark to note the front of the sleeve, while 2 clip marks note the back of the sleeve. It's a system I've been using for years. So I sewed the sleeves into the dress, and check out how this turned out. I've got the dress side, and then that lining side also has a sleeve. It's kind of nice, right? I'm kind of digging how this turned out. So I'll base the hems of the sleeves later on by hand, kind of whip stitching them together so the lining doesn't peek out, while it's being worn. You get what I'm trying to say. So briefly, I think about putting some wine piping at the waist seam, but I X that idea out since I don't want to clutter the whole wine curve of that bodice overlay. So moving along to the skirt, I already have the side seams together, but she still needs a placket before I can attach the skirt to the bodice. And all the gathers, please. This silk satin fabric is really going to shine all gathered up. Moving this way and that way, folding back onto itself. I just love that whole vibe. So I fit the gather skirt to the bodice and sew the two together. It is so exciting because now we have a dress, folks. Also, BRB as I head out to Farmhouse Fabrics, MBD, yo. I felt the bottom of this dress really could use a touch of that wine color, and thankfully I was gonna get some while at Farmhouse Fabrics for Gab and Gush. Is this real life? I know it. I am so happy and thankful. So I draft up this little curve and print her out and then apply it to my fabric.
Merry Christmas, baby. Reindeer's coming out to play. Santa Claus is packing the presents, making sure you've been behaving okay. Merry Christmas, honey. Yeah. The snowman's dusting off his hat, on the show for everybody, to give them a smile that lasts another year. There's something that happens when sleigh bells are ringing, when December ends, when the children are singing, yeah. Merry Christmas, baby.
And here we go, the final Christmas dress for one of my girls. Check out the other videos in this series by clicking on this thumbnail. My dress is still to come. I know it, a Christmas dress for me. Who is this? If y'all have any questions, please put them down in the comments below and I will do my best to answer them. And as always, I appreciate y'all for watching and I hope to catch y'all next time.